Germany was gobsmacked. Nobody was prepared for the leave vote. They just simply weren't. In fact, I'd have to say 2 of the CEOs I deal with a lot didn't have a plan B. And they have a lot of business in the UK. And they are now actually a bit like stunned mullets, really. They just can't quite understand how this even eventuated. So I've got to do a little bit of picture painting, and that for some reason is tiny. I'd already mentioned that Germany is running a surplus. So they're in a very healthy position as a country within the EU. Their buddies in the EU, in a lot of cases, are not doing so well. Other than the Netherlands, are actually doing even better than Germany. They've got like about 9.9% of GDP in surplus at the moment. Germany is incredibly dependent on exports, like no other economy. And they are very integrated in global networks. I talked about 128 German subsidiaries here in New Zealand. The UK has about 70. Germans, when they go to a country, they invest big time. They make it's a serious thing. They don't tend to, the distributor thing is an interim. The long-term plan is to always have a presence in that global economy. The ratio of foreign trade to GDP has gone up from 48% to 86%. So it's just, Germany relies on the world to be able to do business. 1 in 4 German jobs depends on exports. So very, very important to them that their trading partners remain intact. Otherwise they're going to have some serious problems with their own employment, especially when you consider how many refugees are now sitting in Germany that they want to integrate into their skilled labour force. The global economy obviously has been in crisis for quite some time. EU's been hit by so many things, and it just seems to go on. And it does surprise me, because if you read the press here, you would think that the whole EU is in a disastrous state. It's not really. It's not good, but it's because the EU is so globally dependent. So you got to remember all these things. The EU can't just make decisions on its own. It's really dependent on its partners. And German business, because of their investments everywhere, are very committed to, the whole thing about free trade, and it's they would have preferred to have gone down a different road than free trade agreements with every country, but they now accept the fact that that's probably the way they're going to have to do things in the future with the EU. It's really important to understand who Germany's partners are. So on the export side, the United States is actually their most important trade partner. Then followed by France, the UK, Netherlands, and then China. So, their neighbouring countries are their most important export partners. The UK being up there, German product, was it 7.5% of German product is exported into the UK. So fundamentally there's a very strong tie between Germany and the UK. On the other side, it's not the case. The UK sits way down here. So from an import perspective, i.e. what things does Germany need to bring into their country to be able to then produce product and export it, the UK is not really very interesting at all. So the UK hasn't got a lot of negotiating power from that perspective. Important to Germany are, of course, their neighbouring countries, the Netherlands and France. And then China's been moving rapidly up the line there as well, just as it has here in New Zealand. Looking at the UK picture, because that's really important to understand as well, who is the UK's most important trading partner? The United States. And that's why I say these elections that are about to happen in the States, man, this is going to really shake up the world. Germany is their second most important partner for their products. So the UK really has to sit down and negotiate what will suit the Germans. So then the Swiss, the French and the Netherlands are way down here, but they are still, I think something like 44% of UK's exports actually goes into the EU. 44%. So the EU is an incredibly important market for them. And this is so fundamental in this whole discussion. On the other side, importing, Germany is their most important import partner. So cars, machinery, fertilisers, chemicals, medicines, everything is coming from Germany, and then China, and then the States. So a member of the EU is their most important trading partner.